One of the best parts about being here at CPAC is we get to hear from many of the lawmakers that we're very familiar with already, but there are always a few up-and-comers as well, and I'm so excited to introduce you to Leo Zacky. He is a contender for the California gubernatorial race. He has an agricultural background. You may have heard of Zacky Farms. That's his family. And Gavin Newsom can't run again. And so the race is on for 2026. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, well, like you mentioned, Zacky Farms, that was my family's business. It started in 1928, and when I was 18 years old, I became a board member of the California Poultry Federation. So I would go with them when they'd go to D.C. and Sacramento and meet all the awful politicians that we have, and that's what really got me inspired to want to do something like this. And I started at the ground level with my family's business when I left college, and I've been around it my whole life, but I officially got the W-2 when I left college and worked my way up to becoming the vice president, and I did that up until we were forced out of business in January of 2019.
You know, it's really hard to make it in the agricultural industry this day and age.
Oh, my God.
And you know exactly what farmers are up against. California, the #1 ag-producing state. I remember growing up there, it was Harris Ranch and Zacky Farms. Those were the two big names.
Go.
So why, first of all, do you want to see, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Why do you want to see change in California, and what kind of change do you think you could bring to the table?
Well, California's my home. It gave my family everything. My family immigrated there 120 years ago, and I know what California is and can be. It has everything going for it except competent leadership and common sense. That's the missing equation. And if we can just have some of that, California will be thriving. We were the 5th largest economy. We've fallen to the 6th. We're likely to fall to the 7th. And we're the breadbasket for the world in so many aspects. We produce more avocados, almonds, and artichokes and strawberries than anywhere else in the world. And we're the leading dairy producer and beef producer and winemaker, and we have more peaches than Georgia and more oranges than Florida in the whole country. And that's just a couple things. There's like over 30 items that we produce like that.
And you know, so many people don't realize that California is the #1 ag-producing state. You don't realize until you leave California how good you have it when it comes to fresh produce and fresh poultry. I mean, and you look at what's happening right now to our poultry farmers with the bird flu.
Yeah, and they're just coming up with all sorts of ways to decimate our food production here in America right now. Instead of allowing us to actually treat the birds, they just go in and wipe out whole flocks. You know, tens of thousands and millions of birds just eradicated because of this disease instead of even giving it a chance to find a way to treat it and fight it. And if you just cook the damn thing properly, you won't get avian influenza from eating one that was infected with it.
I know. I just think it's the fear. And then you're exactly right. That's what's spreading.
But that's what they've been doing all across the board. They spread fear, and that's how they have control over we the people. And I'm here to break that cycle.
Gavin Newsom has done some serious damage. How would you reverse the damage that he has done to the Golden State?
Well, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but it's about focusing on the key foundational issues. And yes, my background is in ag, but truly the #1 issue in California is water. It's the foundational building block of life here on Earth. And without abundant, affordable water, we can't have affordable food, we can't have clean spaces, and it will also help lower the cost of living. I mean, there's so many things with that. And folks are obviously impacted by the homeless crisis. They really don't like that as well. We need to provide help for the people that are on the streets, give them drug treatment, give them mental health treatment, because it's a mental health crisis compounded by a drug addiction. Right now, all they're doing is stuffing them in hotels at extremely high prices.
Well, he thought housing first. Gavin Newsom thought that housing first was a good idea.
No.
No, the treatment, it's about treatment. You're exactly right.
And that's what we have to do, and give them an opportunity to have a job skill on top of that. Allow them to earn a living wage while undergoing treatment to help offset the costs. We can, if you give 100,000 people a shovel, they can dig a pretty big hole pretty quickly. And if you have them pour concrete in that hole, guess what? You got a reservoir. I mean, it's really simple. Everything's complementary in my solutions here, and that's part of my business background. You got to find ways to make it work, but also create additional revenue streams. And with the water, if we have a robust water infrastructure where you have a drought-resistant California, we can then sell portions of our allocated Colorado River allowance to our neighbors like Arizona and Nevada and even Mexico for profit to help cover our debt.
You want to put a price tag on the Colorado River? I mean, you have first rights to it in California.
We have the lion's share of it, and so if we're going to hold on to that lion's share, well, why not sell off some of it once we're in a position where we can? Do it on a monthly or quarterly or biannually or annual basis. Who cares?
You think like President Trump.
Well,
You're a businessman.
Amazing how that works.
No, I mean, it's exactly what California needs right now. I think you brought up a big point about the reservoir. Well, you can't do it with the permitting process the way that it is right now. President Trump is using deregulation to help a lot of that happen, but you need a governor who will enact his agenda.
Exactly. And we're fighting Donald Trump right now in California. Well, not we. Newsom in the corrupt supermajority Marxist legislature that call themselves Democrats. And there's a lot of good Democrats in California. Problem is those globalist Marxists have corrupted and hijacked it. But putting in incentives for business, lowering taxes for business, getting rid of arbitrary red tape is only going to inspire people to create in California. And that's going to help stimulate the economy more than anything.
More than the Delta smelt population.
Oh, God. And that's the thing. The only reason they're in the wild right now is because UC Davis is growing them in captivity and then releasing them into the wild, which I'm fine with that. What a concept. Let's keep them in captivity. And then when we have our water infrastructure in place and we're in the position where we can have an environment that's sustainable for them, then reintroduce them to the wild. It's not like we've never done this with animals before.
No, it's the migration patterns where they lay their eggs. There's so many facets to it, but it's an anti-humanistic way of thinking in California, and it's costing the taxpayers so much money. And then, of course, with wildfires and the public lands and not being cleared out, that's another big one.
Right, and again, they scream environmentalism the whole time they do this, right? But we don't have our forests properly managed, and then we have uncontrollable wildfires. You couple that with the absence of water, so they burn even more out of control, and then the insurance companies have to cover all these costs. Then you have an insurance commissioner, which we're a handful of states that has one, that caps the rates, that forces these private enterprises into a position where they say, all right, we need to increase our rates, you have to let us do that, or we're going to drop the coverage. And California says, no, we're against megacorps. They say, all right, we're going to drop the coverage. And then the wildfires occur, and then people are negatively impacted, and they lose everything. So it's this negative cycle of poor policy that is really what's hurting the people of California. And it's really not that complicated to fix the mess. It just takes people at the top that are motivated to do the right thing, that care about the people, and not about their own egos or their own pocketbooks. And it's amazing how wealthy a lot of these elected officials are getting on their government salaries.
Well, I'm so glad that you came here as a speaker at CPAC. I'm so glad I had a chance to meet you. I know as a farmer, anybody who has worked on a farm knows it's hard work. And so you understand what hard work can do.
I've had to do it. And look, the Democrats, they scream, oh, no Americans will do these jobs. That's not true. There's plenty of Americans that are ready to do these jobs. It's an honest day's work. And when you do something with your hands and you get done at the end of the day, and you look back at what you did and you're like, damn, I did that. You have this real sense of accomplishment, and it feels good, and it makes people have a higher self-esteem, and it's just this positive promotion all the way through. You just carry that positive energy on to the next thing that you do in your life.
Well, I can't wait to hear more from you. This is Leo Zacky once again. He is throwing his hat into the ring for the next governor of California, a state that desperately needs change. President Trump said there cannot be a golden age without the Golden State, and he's exactly right. So good luck to you.
I really appreciate that.
Really appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll have more coverage for you coming from CPAC later on.